Tour at Barclays Center, July 25th. We'll fly you there. Put you up in a hotel, get your premium seats to the show, plus some merch from Chris and Kevin, and access to the pre-show VIP lounge for you and the guests. To win, just listen to 24/7 Comedy on the free iHeartRadio app, and you'll automatically be entered. Tickets on sale now at SeatGeek.com. Chris Rock and Kevin Hart, live in Brooklyn, New York, from iHeartRadio.
In 2007, Marine First Lieutenant Travis Manion was killed in Iraq after saving his wounded teammates. Travis's legacy lives on through the words he spoke before his final deployment. If not me, then who? Words that today fuel the spirit of Travis Manion Foundation. And through TMF, these words can live in you too. Show the world what you're made of, because character is invisible until it's not. Find out how you can strengthen the character of your community alongside empowered veterans, families of the fallen, and inspired civilians at travismanion.org.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv. Andrew J. Polk, yo to you as well. Matt Olson chiming in over there on the Facebook page, but of course you can find us facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv. Andrew J. Polk. All those ways are to say, in short, that we're out there in as many ways as feasible. We're not totally overextending ourselves there, because yes, I am sure there's a million other places we haven't considered yet, but these are the main ones. And if you have any other ways you need to get at us, well, let us know here. Also dropping those likes and react already. We do appreciate Matt Olson, Flaco Jimenez, and Ida Beza Gardner, as we have another busy day. I feel like I'm a broken record slightly like that, because it hasn't been a non-busy day. Don't think we'd ever exactly say, you know what, guys, it's been a chill day. There isn't much to talk about, so we're just going to talk about our feelings today. Now, I don't ever see that happening, so I feel a compunction to say that it is a busy day, as if to just to prove it, but I guess you can also kind of take it as granted. Just a few of the major topics that we got going on and on tap for you here today. A little bit more, well, defense and discussion going on of the aftermath of that Uvalde shooting, Robb Elementary security camera footage. As horrific as a lot of the things demonstrated in there may be, an interesting defense coming out of one of the officers that has been getting particularly maligned online from a local state rep, even as the governor expresses his complete displeasure with that whole situation as well. We also do have some of how that city rep censure. We talked a little bit about some of the impact of the statewide Democratic Party. Well, how this plays into those elections going on shortly here, essentially, as well as more work visas going posited for the U.S. from Mexico and other Central American countries, as well as water supplies and other very critical infrastructure, both nationwide and right here in our area, talking with a organization focused on those things, DigDeep. So a lot to get into here for you today. So again, if you want to chime in throughout the program over there on the social medias, you're more than welcome to. Those comments are good throughout the program here, and we'll open up those phone lines a little bit later in the show, as we usually do. Make no mistake here. And of course, a couple other ones I wanted to mention here didn't make it into the announcement post, following up on what Estefania was talking with us about last week, or last show, I guess I should say, about what's going on with El Paso Water and those tips about what you might want to, well, do about it here. So yeah, just a lot on tap for you here. So let us know what you think. Let's just start right in with that whole situation that we are talking about with the Uvalde Robb Elementary shooting. You may have recalled, as we talked about on the show, that State Rep Joe Moody, Democrat representing El Paso, has been appointed by Texas Speaker of the House Dade Phelan to the Special Legislative Committee to investigate this as vice chair. And well, again, some of the images, I know New York Post, among others, actually something that Joe Moody was retweeting as, well, the headline there, Uvalde officer checks his phone with Punisher lock screen during Texas school shooting. And there's, been more than a little bit of commentary that has come up on that particular point. I've seen it many other places, but the perspective that Joe Moody is putting forth here and has since, right about our show yesterday, I do think, saying that this is the husband of teacher Eva Mireles, who contacted him on his phone from her classroom while he was on scene to say that she'd been shot and was dying. I'd not planned to speak publicly until the report was released, but I couldn't say nothing, seeing this man who lost everything maligned as if he was indifferent or actively malicious. Context matters. Continuing on to say in the tweet thread that to those that haven't bothered to read even the news that's been reported in your rush to judgment, he attempted to engage but was removed from the building and disarmed. We'll have much to say about the police response, but no criticism of this officer. So that's a little bit coming out about that, even as, again, more response coming statewide, including Governor Greg Abbott, as you heard, I think, at the top of the news hours there, disgusted with the law enforcement response there, and says that the events unfolding and what we're seeing in that video fly in the face of police protocol. He added that he was lied to by police when the incident in Uvalde happened and that he's angry about that. He had initially praised the police response, but later criticized officers for giving him bad information. So we also have Calvin Williams joining us over on the social media. Good afternoon to you as well. So that's that whole situation. I had initially missed it in my review of some of the clips here. In the whole video, that one little caption of screams of children removed, I'd never thought that a short, pithy piece of text would come to haunt me quite like that. So this has just completely, not that this had ever really died down, but it reignited the fury, all of it, and the fight that is going to continue over the investigation into this. Some calling it premature and out of place to having done the release, but I do find myself usually on the edge of transparency when it comes in the balance, but this is maybe a little bit, particularly since some of the family members were not even able to see it before that point. There's, again, some finer points to be made, and of course, I'm sure this debate will continue on here. But a little bit closer to home, shall we say, there, of course, have been more than a little bit of discussion about abortion rights, abortion laws, and the local response here. And so you may have heard us talking, of course, yesterday about the removal of support of the Texas Democratic Party Chair Gilbert Hinojosa rescinding his endorsement of Mayor Oscar Leeser in that letter that we read in part yesterday. And again, you can see parts of that over with our news partners at KFOX 14. But this was not all the only action that has been taken. The local wing of the party as well, having put forth now a censure of the members of the city council that voted against the actual, and precinct chairs putting this forth, that voted against the measure as was proposed to city council last week, specifically censuring Mayor Leeser, City Rep Salcido, Molinar, Rodriguez, and Lizarraga. Quoting it, according to the Eastside Democrats, there no vote on protecting women's rights to privacy. The motion made by Young Democrats Chair Wesley Lawrence, and the motion passed. So, as much as I have thought that this would not go anytime soon, it seems to keep coming back here, but there's a little bit more even to get into in that. Texas Tribune, among others, with an interesting perspective on that, specifically that this will be probably playing a part, as was even mentioned in some of those emails, if you're on those lists, in upcoming leadership for the Texas Democratic Party. Specifically, that their convention is going to be happening this weekend in Dallas. So some of these things and messages you may have been seeing along with that, if you've been paying closer attention to these more recent actions, I suppose, are about also the re-election coming in. So I guess I am not particularly surprised that this further action has been taken with the intense period coming from that, and even out of this and these elections and whatnot, expect it fully to continue on even further and here locally. So John Browson saying, who cares what the El Paso Democrats think if they know how? Of course, I'm entitled to your opinion about it. But given the way that we do have the conventional wisdom about El Paso politics and how they work, there certainly is an argument to be made that, the general parties, for whatever efforts they have, maybe MIA to the average voter, given those that are actually voting, I guess would be a better way to put it, does maybe have a bit more of an impact here. I've also been seeing some more things, need to track it down a little bit more, about voter registration efforts and people being, more directed to it and more interested in doing so, the high watermark being established. So sure, you can, again, take it with a grain of salt as you see fit, but I think discounting it entirely out of hand because you disagree with it might not be a completely wise course of action. One of the reasons we'll keep talking about the things that affect us here in the borderland. Speaking of those, water supply chains in general, we are continuing to talk about, of course, here, but going to have our interview today with an organization focused on water and sanitation and accessibility to it, both nationwide and then right here in our region, announcing some efforts actually coming out a little bit earlier this month. So we'll be talking with the organization DigDeep, their founder and CEO, about actually what is going to be launched as of this month right here in our area. So that will take us through the first break of this hour here, and a lot more discussion to come here. Make no mistake. A lot of comments coming in. Ted Kors right now, John Brazelton, Kevin Williams, Matt Olson. And that'll keep going out through both hours of the program here. So comments over on social media, phone lines a little bit later as we do. In any case, stay tuned for more Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Don't go anywhere. It might be in your case that this is about the point of the day that you already have those firm dinner plans, like pulled the thing out to thaw you need to, as often the case in my family. You might be left wondering, oh, what are we going to do now? Let me give you a little bit of a hint. There's often things that you can often pick up at the grocery store and turn around and do something decent with. But even in those kind of situations, or whether you've planned out a beautiful meal, you can take it even to the next level with the great supply of extra virgin olive oils, balsamic vinegars, and flavored olive oils from our friends over at Enhanced Flavors, where you can really help spice up your life and take your cooking to the next level. Be the champion chef of your kitchen by getting that supply over on their website, enhancedflavors.com. And when you do so, of course, you can find them out in the community, often out at the Country Club Farmers Market most recently. But if you go online, there's a good reason to, because you can get 15% off your next order, specifically by entering the code at checkout, EF Radio, as in Enhanced Flavors, EF Radio. Enter that at checkout, get 15% off your next order. You don't have to go anywhere out of town to get this great supply of these balsamic vinegars and olive oils sourced from some of the best places in the world for it, including Italy, Greece, Tunisia, and Spain. They'll bring it right to your door with your local distributor. So again, find them online at enhancedflavors.com. That's enhanced with a D, flavors.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
No major crashes on your El Paso freeways right now, just some slowing. North and South Desert Boulevard still closed between Artcraft and Trans Mountain for road work. I-10 westbound at Las Muchas has been closed up until 4 o'clock this afternoon, not too far away from now. The left lane is closed, and that's impacting stop-and-go traffic on the westbound I-10, Trans Mountain to Vinton. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Our American Stories podcast.
Game shows are typically a combination of luck and skill, but for one show, Press Your Luck, a contestant just memorized how to win by watching a lot. Be sure to listen to this week's edition of Our American Stories on the iHeartRadio app, on Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
As a marketer, you want to reach everyone, adults, teens, millennials, but it's not like these groups all hang out in the same place, right? Actually wrong. They're all right here, listening to radio commercials just like this one. Radio ads connect with 93% of Americans every week. That's more than Google, more than Facebook, more than TV. In fact, radio reaches 20% more millennials than TV. Want more of the people you want to talk to all in one place? Visit iHeartAdvertising.com and get AM/FM working for you. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
If you're 45 or older, this message could save your life. Health experts now recommend starting regular colorectal cancer screening at age 45. Colorectal cancer is a leading cause of cancer death, but it's preventable through regular screening. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. You've got the guts to prevent colorectal cancer. Talk to your doctor about your options and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Do you find find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, beat the largest timeshare company in federal court and has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-738-9900. That's 800-738-9900.
Next Thursday, you will be caught in an extreme flash flood.
Disasters don't plan ahead, but you can. Talk to your loved ones about making an emergency plan. Get started today at ready.gov/plan. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch.tv. A lot of comments coming in through many of those areas here. Kathy Codry, Drew St. Clair, and others over on the YouTube. Ted Kors, John Brousselton, and Calvin Williams, and Matt Olson over on the Facebook, and also dropping those likes and reacts, which we always appreciate. Calvin Williams, Matt Olson, Flaco Jimenez, and Ida Beza Gardner. And yeah, just a whole lot more discussion going on there on the Uvalde and Robb Elementary School shooting situation. Drew St. Clair saying a gunman committed suicide, cops lied, children died. Not sure about that first point here. I've not seen that borne out much, but let's just say there are many questions, of course, that are in this investigation, which is one of the reasons that, again, State Rep Joe Moody, representing El Paso, was on that special committee and led to his perspective and tweets about that issue. And another one of those situations I'm wanting a full investigation into. But the second part of what you're talking about there, I think that's some of the frustration, beyond frustration, really, that is being expressed right now. Kathy Codry saying that 70,000 truckers in California fighting new laws that impact their ability to make deliveries and function economically. Well, we've been talking more than a little bit about those supply chain, those grid issues, which we've still been seeing in other parts of Texas, but just basic services and the concerns that come along with them. And you may have heard, particularly when it comes to things that you might not think that much top of mind, things that you just rely on. Well, there's actually been some of that been going on recently here for some, particularly on the west side, even had some family affected by it, by some breakages and outages of water service. And imagine if that was just the constant situation. And that's something that, again, the organization DigDeep focuses on, because doing that kind of work is important, even if you, don't know what you got till it's gone there. So as an organization focused in that wash area, water sanitation and hygiene, literally foundational to modern life as we know it. So they do work around the country, but also including coming up right here. So I was able to talk with them recently about their work and what they are going to be announcing or have now announced in our area. So here is that interview. Enjoy. Joining me now, we have George McGraw, founder and CEO of DigDeep. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
So we have been talking about a lot of issues that have been going on, supply chain and even basic needs. And one people may not realize, it's kind of one of those truly don't know what you got till it gone situations, is the accessibility and availability of a clean and safe water supply.
Yeah, that's exactly right. In fact, there are 2.2 million people in the U.S. who still don't have a tap or a toilet at home. Tens of millions of more who have some running water, but it's not safe to drink.
And that's often not thought of as a problem in the U.S. I mean, it's often thought of as like, okay, I mean, Flint, Michigan has probably gotten a little bit more attention than usual, but that's seen more as an anomaly, a fluke, than it is something widespread, I think, pretty commonly by people.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And it's happening all over the country. In fact, there are many families in the El Paso area, especially living in the farther reach colonias along the border, that face this reality every day. You know, they don't have running water or flush toilets. They have to collect all of their water outside the home or pay for expensive bottled water. And like you said, we've been talking a lot about, supply chain, inflation, potential recession. I mean, these families have been feeling the pinch for a long time.
Absolutely there. So you all have a new report out that you're doing that is digging into this issue. You mentioned that, 2.2 million people affected within the United States, even again, very critical to note that. So that may seem like on its face value as being, okay, that doesn't sound great, but when we actually get into what some of the impacts of that are, that's where, the real concern can start to come out, because it doesn't, of course, stop at the working, or in this case, not faucet.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's having a massive economic impact. We're losing approximately $8.58 billion every year that this gap remains open. That's about $15,800 per household, more than a lot of these families make every year.
So, and again, the impacts of this they're almost hard to overstate, because once we're talking about, it essentially comes down to a lack of sanitation. And one of the stats that sticks in my mind, and this currently comes out of conflict, but the Civil War was a horrific conflict in a lot of ways, but the majority of the deaths that came from that were from improper hygiene and sanitation. So to call it anything besides a serious issue would be a very bad idea.
That's a really interesting example. I don't think I've ever heard it before. But yeah, it makes sense. When we were doing this economic impact study, we looked at people's daily lives and we tried to figure out what the price tag of all these impacts are. And we looked at physical health. If you don't have access to water and sanitation, you're more susceptible to waterborne illnesses. Mm-hmm. One of the things that surprised us is people have easier access to soda in many cases than water. So there's a higher rate of diabetes. About 36,000 new cases of diabetes every year are caused by this. You're looking at mental health impacts. You're looking at time people can't spend working or going to school because they're collecting water. You're looking at all the money they spend on bottled water. And of course, and most tragically, you're looking at loss of life. There are hundreds of people every year who die inside the water access gap without access to water or sanitation. And that has a huge economic impact on families and on their communities.
Oftentimes in the modern day, bathroom is often the source of, there's literally the whole bathroom humor category, and that's often what it gets relegated to. But seriously, it is foundational in a lot of ways. In a lot of places, the life that we enjoy now could not exist without, essentially, again, even just a flushing toilet, even that kind of a thing, the removal of waste from your area. There's a lot of reasons that people may not have preferred to have lived in previous, particularly in cities, eras of things literally running through the street. This transformation that has meant for this country and for modern society is, again, almost impossible to overstate the importance of.
Yeah, you're right. It really is foundational. It's everything. In this report, not only do we provide all these numbers, but we actually, go out and speak to families all across the U.S. who don't have access to water and sanitation to look at what that really looks like. I met a woman named Brenda years ago doing this work who lives in New Mexico. And I was on a water truck that was delivering a few gallons of drinking water to her, and she ran into the kitchen to make some tamales. And she explained to me that her husband, who was the primary breadwinner of the house, had been injured at work. He hurt his foot. And without running water, he couldn't keep it clean, and it got infected, and he had been hospitalized. And no running water meant no tamales, and she sold the tamales for money, and so no tamales meant no gas money. And no gas money meant Brenda's husband had been discharged a few weeks before and was just sleeping on the streets of Gallup, New Mexico, about 50 miles away from her house, waiting for her to get the water she needed to make the tamales, to sell the tamales, to pick him up. It really, these families are so vulnerable. This economic impact is so deep. If you don't have access to water and sanitation, one little thing goes wrong and your family is on the edge.
Again, if you're just joining us, guest right now is George McCraw, founder and CEO of DigDeep. If you want to find out anything more about their work, their focus, and what they do, you can find them at digdeep.org. And so for people who aren't familiar with your organization, talking a lot about some of the studies you've done, what is it that you all do in general?
Yeah, so the heart of our work is getting people access to taps and toilets. So we build projects, infrastructure projects, especially in rural areas. We have the Navajo Water Project in the Southwest, the Appalachia Water Project in the East. And actually next week, July 7th, we'll be launching the Colonias Water Project right there in El Paso, bringing running water and basic services to some of those communities in El Paso County. We also, like you said, do research work. We do some policy advocacy, trying to get lawmakers to stand up and pay attention to this issue and build solutions. And we partner with a lot of incredible organizations to get that done.
So particularly, the local situation, colonias are kind of this always back of mind issue for a lot of people. There's been some legislative efforts, some elected official focus on that recently, but in that situation and any of the other ones that you are discussing across the country, what is it truly going to take? In terms of scope, funding, and time to solve these water access issues?
Well, a lot of your listeners will remember that we just passed a big infrastructure package through Congress. Big controversy. We got it passed. Unfortunately, there wasn't money specifically focused on closing this water access gap. I think, there hasn't been a really solid federal policy to do this work. And so we need the leadership of the president, members of Congress, especially members of Congress who have this in their districts, and federal agencies to stand up and make this a priority, treat it like the emergency it is, and provide the right funding and leadership. I mean, organizations like DigDeep, we can't do this work alone. And it really is the responsibility of the federal government, who, frankly, missed investment in a lot of these communities, especially rural communities of color, starting 100 years ago.
So you mentioned, of course, some of the factors, the economic cost of this currently, that $15,800 per year extra cost per household that does not have this on, and that's just on average. The individual situations, like you discussed there, can vary wildly. What kind of investment and requirements are expected to need to be able to truly overcome this?
Well, we estimate in the report that we're looking at about $42 billion of investment to completely close this gap. But we would start with an investment of about $11.8 billion, which is less than Americans spend every year on ice cream, frankly. And the rest of that investment could be invested over about a 50-year period. The crazy, wonderful thing about this math, though, is that it's not just a nice thing to do to give people access to water. It actually creates prosperity by solving all these problems. So the math shows that for every dollar you invest in new taps or toilets for folks, you get $5 back. That means we could generate over $200 billion in economic value in the next 50 years if we close this gap. And right now, with inflation where it is, with potential recession on the horizon, that's an investment, honestly, we can't afford not to make.
Yeah, again, the sum total of the impacts coming out of this and truly making it more available. I mean, the analogy I've heard is that you don't build a road just because it's already overflowing. You build a road because you want the capacity to exist in that area. And that, of course, very much applies here to water supplies because, again, removing of the issues and making it more viable. I mean, if you really just want to talk about in cold calculated numbers, making it so people are more available to do things increases, among other things, productivity, prosperity, the things you're talking about.
Yeah, and happiness. I mean, that's the thing is it's hard to measure that part, but this is time, being sick or collecting water that people aren't spending playing with their kids, exploring their passions. It's such a grating, difficult life, and it takes away so many people's agency and dignity, and that's the part that's hard to measure, but that's there too.
Again, guest right now has been George McGraw, founder and CEO of DigDeep. If you want to find out any more information about what we've been talking about here, their work, and how to get involved, find them at digdeep.org. So, George, thank you very much for taking the time to speak with us, talk a little bit about this issue and how it impacts us and the work you'll be doing right here in our area here today.
Thanks for having me, Andrew.
Again, so thanks to them for that interview about there. One question coming up during that interview, Flaco Jimenez asking, what about Flint? There are some local resources going on there. The organization DigDeep here focus on some of the other underserved and more national areas, as I mentioned, also in the Navajo reservation area and in parts of Appalachia. So they do have a lot of different focuses, including that one that, as we were speaking earlier this month, has now begun in this area. And yeah, again, until you don't have it, it's really hard to overestimate how important this kind of a situation can be here. So that's going to take us through the next break right now. Coming out of this break, we will talk more about those situations affecting us here in the borderland and beyond, including, some of those utility solutions being proposed for what's going on in our area with the water utility itself here. So stay tuned for more Talk El Paso after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. A lot of comments coming in. We'll get to more of those again and all the good stuff we do here after this break here on Talk El Paso on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. A judge has dropped all of the charges against 29-year-old Christopher Smelzer, a former Las Cruces police officer accused of causing the death of a suspect he was trying to arrest. Smelzer was originally charged with manslaughter in the 2020 death of Antonio Valenzuela, but Attorney General Hector Balderas later took over the case and upgraded the charge to second-degree murder. Judge Doug Driggers today ruled that there was insufficient evidence to move forward forward with the murder charge. Smeltzer, with tears in his eyes, hugged his attorneys in the courtroom today. Many El Paso water customers are hanging up before they're able to speak to a customer service representative. Data from El Paso Water shows that the abandoned calls in May and June are due to long wait times. The utility explained that staff shortages are affecting the amount of call representatives that are actually able to answer. The call logs for the month of May and part of June showed the utility received more than 1,000 calls a day. However, many of those calls went unanswered, with several customers hanging up after waiting for an average of nearly 30 minutes. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
I-10 westbound at Copia Street exit. An earlier crash closing 2 left lanes has reopened all lanes now. There's still a backup I-10 westbound between Geronimo and Copia with a 7-minute delay. On the Trans Mountain eastbound, just past Kenworthy, El Paso Electric is working on the right shoulder. Use caution there. Martin Luther King Boulevard at Gateway South, an accident's been reported there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Finding ways to stay cool is going to be a big task for us, not only through the rest of the work week, but in through our weekend, as triple digits continue to beat down on the borderland. That means warm nights as well, and we're looking at a few days of dry weather, but there will be the return of a slight drop in temperatures as rain returns next week. Log on to kfoxtv.com for the very latest.
This report is sponsored by Discover. Some banks can make it complicated to redeem credit card rewards, but with Discover, you can redeem your rewards for cash in any amount at any time. Talk about amazing. Learn more at discover.com/redeem rewards. Terms apply.
Beautiful, top quality, long-lasting dental implants as low as $19.95 at 1995implants.com. The El Paso Dental Office, where implants are affordable. Other places charge $3, $4, $5, up to $6,000 per tooth. Please do not pay that much. Please do come to 1995implants.com, where our price is much lower, as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown, which many other places charge extra for. Plus, at 1995implants.com, we also offer a free consultation, free standard x-rays, and very convenient payment options. Now's the time to get rid of your cracked teeth, missing teeth, or loose, old, wobbly dentures and get the beautiful new smile that you want at a very affordable price. 1995implants.com. For more information, see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
If summer is heating up your hiring needs, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Sponsor your first job and get hiring today by visiting Indeed.com/credit. This report is sponsored by Indeed.com.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. Keeping you informed and up to date. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio, 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, wherever you might be listening from, including those solo sit-down conferences being talked about there. Just make sure to wash your hands before, during, and after, probably check if you're still on your phone or something. In any case, a lot of ways you can chime in, opening up those phone lines a little bit later towards the end of this segment, as we usually do here. But Flaco Jimenez there chiming in, along with RJ over on the YouTube, John Browselton, Calvin Williams, Kathy Codry, Drew St. Clair, Ted Kors, and Matt Olson a little bit earlier. And Calvin Williams, Matt Olson, Flaco Jimenez, and Ida Beza Gardner dropping those likes and reacts. We do appreciate. So, of course, water utilities, and while there is still, last I checked, some issues going on, at the very least on the west side, and maybe it's just me, but a lot of random utility mishaps, not even just in the water sector, but also the gas pipeline leak, power outages. It seems like it's been a bad week around here, even if we're not suffering like the rest of Texas necessarily is here. So Calvin Williams talking about very serious issues with setting up his water bill right now, mentioning tried to pay my water bill over the phone, waited longer than 30 minutes, finally used the option for their callback feature, answer the callback, only here there was a 22-minute wait for the next available operator, so I hung up, all because their automated system did not recognize my 10-digit account number, and when saying my house number, they wanted a 4-digit PIN, which I have never set up. That is one of the issues I've been hearing about, in that with the new system, that's if at least know one person who says they had memorized their account number. Now, in this case, it may have changed with the new registration on the system. So if you want the actual tips that we were talking about with the Stephania yesterday, not going to try to be a tease with it or anything, what they actually recommend here is, well, using the online system if it's at all possible. Reading directly from the article from our news partners over there at KFOX14, the tips available. The first is checking to see if what you're calling about can be addressed through the new online portal. Customers can make a payment, start or stop service, and view previous bills through the online portal. The second option they recommend, calling during non-peak hours, which are 7 to 8 a.m. and 5 to 6 p.m. on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, the middle of the week, basically, because Mondays and Fridays are considered the busiest call days. And there's also that callback feature, though if you've had issues with it, I can understand your reluctance to do a similar kind of thing. Also, you can email the utility at customer.service@epwater.org. Again, customer.service@epwater.org. So as to not leave you all in suspense, those were the 4 tips that she was mentioning yesterday for her story that aired again last night on KFOX 14 News at 9. And they are still working to recruit to hire more people. As was mentioned in the story, they have upped their, recruitment efforts and are looking to essentially double the amount of people that they have in with that, getting more than 1,000 calls per day. So I'm not saying you're wrong or that you're in any way in fault with this, but yeah, if you can't follow some of those tips or they don't work for you, patience, I know, is the not fun kind of advice to give, but let's just say my experience lately, having been looking at that relocation, we have been doing the water changeover, seems to have worked, even if some of the areas we're looking at now don't have the water service happening due to the breaks in the mains there. So different set of issues here. But do what you can. I know in some of those areas where they've actually had the breaks, they've also been setting up what are called the water buffaloes. Those of you of military experience may be more familiar with that term. Otherwise, it basically means a large tank of potable water that you can go and fill up a container from. Little, from the modern standpoint, maybe medieval sounding, but definitely better than nothing. And an important tip, you can still flush a toilet even if it doesn't have water service if you fill up the tank up top manually. Not saying it's fun, I'm just saying you can here. So that sanitation aspect of it's very, very important here. So that's just one of the things I wanted to mention coming out of this, as we're talking about more of those supply chain issues as well. But one of the other things related to, I guess, work, you may have heard about, among other things going on, a lot of the president of Mexico is an interesting figure, no matter which way you cut it here. Andrés Manuel López Obrador, better known as AMLO, at least I like the acronym anyway. Of course, having shunned the Conference of the Americas due to the non-invitation for some of the more oppressive, extremist, etc. regimes in the area, of course, now meeting with the White House ahead of President Biden's departure for some of those meetings, including in Israel and the Middle East in general. Now saying on his own, announcing that there will be increased work visas for Mexicans and Central Americans. I'm talking about that today. Again, according to AMLO, saying that the United States has agreed to increase the number of work visas during the high-level talks in Washington that happened again a little bit earlier this week here. And he says the number will be, quote, considerably expanded upon his return from Washington, D.C., where he met with President Biden earlier this week. The White House has yet to confirm that increase for their own part, but they said, did confirm that access to visas has already been improved here. So whether or not that'll have a direct impact in this area, I'm not sure, because with the whole Maquiladora system we have in this place anyway, but nationally, Well, that's been one of the pressure relief valves, I guess, that has often been cited whenever we start talking about these immigration policies. So I'm sure the definable, though, with more details to come out here. AMLO is often, again, I call him interesting in heavy air quotes there if you can't hear it through the radio, because he's also accused members of the media of plotting a coup against him with their words and no action. So I'll take it with a grain of salt until I hear something actually out of the U.S. government on what can be expected here, what policies they are actually setting. So that's just a couple of the things going on here. Kathy Codry saying soda drinks have skyrocketed in price in the last few weeks. I always trust you to look at some of the pricing on us here, but I guess I'm not surprised. One of the things we're looking at actually right now in terms of home improvement is the cost of paint having gone up essentially year over year more than $100 per unit. And let's just say we had a number in mind, or at least a pain point we were willing to endure, and just blew straight through that recently. So pick a sector, it's probably gone up, unless you're talking about cryptocurrency, which we're not. But if I made anyone cringe over that, I do apologize. That's going to take us to that next break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll get to more of the comments and also go ahead and open up the phone lines as well, as we do at this point during the show. That number to call is, as always, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 westbound at Copia Street exit. An earlier crash closing 2 left lanes has reopened all lanes now. There's still a backup I-10 westbound between Geronimo and Copia with a 7-minute delay. On the Trans Mountain eastbound, just past Kenworthy, El Paso Electric is working on the right shoulder. Use caution there. Martin Luther King Boulevard at Gateway South, an accident's been reported there. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Dell Technologies.
Get inspired during Dell's Black Friday and July sale with up to $500 off select computers like XPS laptops and Alienware systems with Intel Core processors. Plus, get great financing with a Dell Preferred account and free shipping. Call 877-ASK-DELL.
New on Curiosity Stream. Grab your decoder ring. We're cracking the world's most famous encryptions. From the mom who took down the mob to the Zodiac Killer. See how the pros hide their secrets in plain sight on Cracking the Code. Plus, it was impossible to recruit intelligence agents without recruiting war criminals. Meet the retirees of the Third Reich who gathered Cold War intelligence for the U.S. on Nazis and the CIA. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
With a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Spending time outdoors can improve overall health and wellness. Celebrate Earth Day and take advantage of nature's health benefits by visiting a local park. Recreate responsibly to protect yourself and others, and to make the outdoors safe and welcoming for people of all identities and abilities. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Hey, it's Maura Courtney Lopez, and we know life is better together.
Smart Mouth mouthwash gives us the confidence to make life's moments amazing.
We are all getting together more, and Smart Mouth's 24-hour power of fresh breath with just 2 rinses a day keeps us from worrying about bad breath in those up-close moments.
Go to smartmouth.com/radio to save 20% or find Smart Mouth at your favorite store to give you confidence as we get closer to each other.
Remember to make life's moments better together with Smart Mouth at smartmouth.com/.
Naloxone can reverse the effects of an opioid overdose and save a life. It's easy to get and easy to use. If you or someone you know is at risk of overdose, keep naloxone on you and at home. Learn more at cdc.gov/stop-overdose.
Make the right choice for your house when it comes to windows and doors. The Window Depot provides over 1,000 in-stock vinyl windows, interior and exterior doors, plus all the supplies you'll need for installation and trim to complete the job, all at the lowest prices in town. Visit thewindowdepot.com to find a location near you. That's thewindowdepot.com. Stores are open Monday through Saturday, but they also offer online ordering and no-contact delivery. The Window Depot. Lowest prices, biggest inventory.
Staples has everything you need for school at prices that won't hold you back. Right now, Crayola 24-count crayons and 4-ounce Elmer's glue are just 50 cents each. Plus, 1-inch binders are only $1.99. In-store only. Offer ends 7/16. Limit 30. Don't send your kids back to school. Send them forward at Staples.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the social medias, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. What you need to keep in mind if you want to chime in those ways, but I guess more traditionally kind of way to say it, but if you want to do it by voice, there's a bunch of ways you can do it, but most directly by phone, which we have those lines open for you right now. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Some taking the whole my description of AMLO, the love him to hate him and hate to love him, and I don't know, depending how you want to put it. President of Mexico, RJ, taking that to heart, saying AMLO is a paranoid socialist. More or less, depending on the day, on either of those terms, I guess you really could say here. And Kathy Kodry on the idea of the water issue, saying use the millions from the infrastructure package. That, of course, was mentioned there. And so, again, thanks to them and the guys over at DigDeep for talking to us about their work and what they got going on there, and specifically George McGraw, the founder and CEO there. We've talked sometimes over the course of the past couple of years with those WASH experts. It's a term you don't see that often, particularly not in this country, but a lot of terms in developing countries, the water, sanitation, and health, because they are often connected. And I wasn't fooling about that figure from the Civil War. It's estimated that upwards of maybe around half the deaths that actually happened during the Civil War were not from combat, not even from infection of wounds after the battle, but just from like dysentery and poor sanitation. So it's a serious issue. And one of the reasons about the stuff that can be floating around out there, more or less literally, whenever what was it? The park in Central that used to flood a lot and still kind of does. And I'd see people playing it, and I'm like, oh, you don't know who left theirs dog's business on the ground there. Now you're playing in that. Oh, please don't, children. But of course they did anyway. And Barky Mandingo on that whole idea of sanitation. The best ideas come up upon us when we're in the loo. Yeah, just make sure it's not happening while you're worshiping the porcelain god there, because, well, I'm not sure good thoughts happen in those cases there. Actually, just into us right now, a little bit during the program, actually, is we have a little bit more political polling to look at here in Texas. Wasn't anticipating talking about this today, but hey, it's always a good thing to keep up on. There is another poll out showing maybe even a tightening race. And the reason this one might be want to be a little bit more considered here, that the UH Hobby School of Public Affairs has some numbers both on the Texas gubernatorial race and some other ones, and was noted as being closest to the pin in calling the actual margin of victory of course, former President Donald Trump over Joe Biden in the Texas race here, calling it at about a 5% spread here, 49% to 44% with a 2.9 percentage error points, talking with just shy of 1,200 registered voters sampled here in Texas. Also noting that there are some maybe tightening races even on the slightly down ballot, such as Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick leading, of course, Republican Dan Patrick leading Mike Collier, Democrat out of Houston area, by 5 percentage points as well, with 9% undecided, which would be a bit closer than it has come up recently. And also looking at some of the important issues there. Also, Attorney General Ken Paxton with a similar kind of margin being discussed here with Democrat challenger Rochelle Mercedes Garza, Democrat out of the Brownsville area, about 5 percentage points across the board here. So I take most polling with a grain of salt at best, but showing trajectories is the most important part. And there have been some wild variations. I mean, one of the biggest spreads that was in polling recentishly, more around the middle of last month, really, it showed Abbott with an 18-point lead. But of course, that was before some of these, well, very significant events that have gone on, Uvalde, Robb Elementary, and the abortion debate primary amongst them in my mind here. And again, I've been seeing some indication that there might be more focus just on that as an issue with more increase in Texans visiting the site to register to vote, according to some. We might do a little bit more on that and see what that might mean for Texas. But in the meantime, anyone thinking that this wasn't going to be a hot button issue, I don't even know what to tell you. Given the very nature of the debate that happens over it and the emotions and appeals involved, I had no doubt that once we were set, even that draft decision came out, that of course ultimately ended up becoming more or less the actual majority decision from the Supreme Court, that, yeah, this was going to become one. Don't get me wrong. The whole theory of it's the economy stupid, as it literally hits people at their homes and in their pocketbooks, is very powerful. But you get enough other issues going on and enough single issue voters. And if you want to, I don't know if anyone's ever actually done a study on what is the biggest issue that has like single issue voters on it. Like they will go out and vote on this issue and otherwise they don't really care. I gotta kind of hazard that, I mean, probably economics, the economy, their pocketbook, their job, etc., is probably pretty high amongst them. But you want to talk about the abortion debate more than anything else, I'd be hard pressed to guess about any more than that here. That's going to about take us through the top of the next hour here right now. We're talking about a lot of issues, and we will continue doing that in the second hour of the program, as we are wont to do. Again, if you're wanting to get on the line to add your 2 cents along with the comments that we do have coming in, that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Some more of the comments coming in from Kathy Codry, RJ Marky Mendingo, Calvin Williams, Flaco Jimenez, and more. Also dropping those new likes and reacts. Marky Mendigo, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Calvin Williams, Matt Olson, Flaco Jimenez, and Ida Beza Gardner. Yeah, there's a lot more we'll get into here in the second hour of the program here. So we'll go ahead and take that break now. Again, getting on the line, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Want to add your 2 cents, comments, questions, what have you about what affects us here in the borderland? We'll take it all on coming out after this break here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Eastbound on the border highway at Padres, a stalled truck, a large semi, and other vehicles are off to the right, block of the right shoulder. I-10 westbound at Airway, a disabled vehicle, block of the right shoulder. I-10 westbound between Trans Mountain up to Vinton, it is slow, 10-minute delay. And slow traffic on Memorial Highway, southbound on the loop between the 601 Spur and Edgemere Boulevard with 5-minute delays. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Being aware of the world around you is important.
When it comes to news, yes, I am.
So we're feeding your need to know 24/7 at the top and bottom of the hour.
I like to know what's going on in my locality, abroad.
Events of the world.
Fairly so. Yeah, I'm pretty connected.
Or down the street.
For the most part, I know what's going on.
You know, I need to be aware and what to look out for, and I'm real cautious, so yeah, I need to have that.
It's what we do. News Radio 690 KTSM.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E, clean nose, healthy life.
No Hollywood release can match it.
It's worth the wait. Who complains?
No television drama can equal it.
That was the scariest episode of your show.
And nothing else comes close to the drama.
This is unbelievable.
And you know what? Quite frankly, this scares people.
Join the conversation. We have seen this movie before. We know that it doesn't end well.
Stay informed with El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Recording artist Kevin Fowler.
Oh, I love the sound of fast boats racing, a rooster tells a flying high. Love to hear all my rowdy friends were rocking, howling at the full moonlight. Love to see those fireflies buzzing, lighting up the southern sky. Yeah, I'm a hell-bent 100% Texan till I die. Like lots of 100% Texans, I love having a good time on the water. But remember, nobody's waterproof. Play it safe. Wear a life jacket and designate a driver for the boat and for a safe ride home. Follow these tips and there'll be a lot more days for you to play in this great state of Texas. Nobody's waterproof, yeah, that's a hell-bent truth, and you know it ain't no lie.
Sponsored by Texas Parks and Wildlife.
KTSM AM El Paso is News Radio 690, an iHeart radio station.
Hey, hon, what you doing with your phone?
Do flowers have best friends?
I don't know. Hey, look.
Whoa.
Some answers can only be found in nature. Discover the unsearchable. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a trail near you. Brought to you by the United States Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio. 690 KTSM. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. Former President Donald Trump's wife is dead at the age of 73. She lived on Manhattan's Upper East Side for years, where a man named Angelo worked security across the street.
To me, she was a pleasant lady because I got to know her personally. You know, hello, goodbye, how are you, how's your day, and everything. Wonderful woman. Friday, I saw her last Friday. She looked fine to me. She went down the street and had dinner.
It's being reported that Ivana was found unresponsive at the bottom of the stairs, and police are investigating whether a fall contributed to her death. Ivana was the mother to Trump's 3 eldest children. Her youngest son, Eric Trump, said it was a very sad day. Stocks are mostly taking a hit today as investors worry about potential larger rate hikes. Wall Street closed today's session mostly in the red. The Speaker of the House is arguing that a woman's right to choose is non-negotiable. Speaking with reporters, California Democrat Nancy Pelosi again attacked the Supreme Court's recent ruling overturning Roe v. Wade. She called it an assault on the dignity of women and again warned Republicans may go after contraception. WNBA star Brittany Griner will have another court appearance soon. Lisa Taylor reports.
Griner's appearance is set for what will be 3 a.m. Eastern Time in the U.S. on Friday. She has pleaded guilty to drug charges, but CNN says no verdict was reached in a hearing on Thursday. Testimony from defense witnesses was featured as the director of the Russian team Griner has played for praised her for lifting the spirit of her team. The Phoenix Mercury star stands accused of having under a gram of cannabis oil in her luggage when she was arrested at the airport in Moscow back in February. Griner faces up to 10 years in prison. I'm Lisa Taylor.
A man wrongly convicted in connection to the death of Malcolm X is suing New York City. Mohammed Aziz was exonerated last year, and his lawyers filed the lawsuit because they couldn't reach a settlement with the city. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. South Carolina lawyer Alex Murdaugh is being charged with the double slaying of his wife and son. In June of last year, Murdaugh's wife and son were found shot to death outside their South Carolina home. Later in September, Murdaugh was found wounded on the side of a highway and was accused of trying to arrange his own death so his surviving son could collect an insurance policy. Contract negotiations have resumed between Dodger Stadium concession workers and the company that manages concessions at the ballpark. Daniel Martindale has the details.
About 1,500 servers, bartenders, suite attendants, cooks, and dishwashers are threatening to strike and no-show upcoming All-Star Week festivities. The union representing the employees and the concessions company, Compass Levy, said talks were underway Wednesday but didn't give any further information. On Monday, the union authorized a strike with a 99% yes vote. Reps say the strike could be called at any moment. All-Star festivities, including the Home Run Derby and MLB All-Star Game, run Saturday through Tuesday at Dodger Stadium.
New York State's first Amazon Fresh store is now open on Long Island. Jennifer Pulsoni reports.
Amazon Fresh, a first for New York, at the home of the former wall bombs on Long Beach Road in Oceanside. A unique experience for shoppers. Customers use an Amazon app, scanning a QR code when entering the store. Sensors and cameras detecting when items are removed or returned to shelves, allowing customers to pay for their groceries without going through the checkout. Discounts will also be available to Prime members.
Tom Brady says the media mischaracterized his relationship with former President Trump. Speaking to Variety, the Buccaneers QB said he had golfed with Trump a few times 17 or 18 years ago and said he was so young at the time. Brady and Trump's friendship came into focus when a Make America Great hat was seen in his locker in New England, which the QB said was a gift sent to him by the former president. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now your chance to win $1,000. Just enter this nationwide keyword on our website. Bank. That's bank. Enter it now.
Make this the year you go to our iHeartRadio Music Festival.
iHeartRadio, let's go! Friday, September 23rd and Saturday the 24th.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas.
Buy your tickets now at AXS.com. Sponsored by The Hartford. With insurance designed for your small business, the Bucks got your back. Go to iHeartRadio.com/The Hartford to learn how to nominate your favorite small business owner for a small business grant and a bonus chance to win a trip to the iHeartRadio Music Festival.
This report is sponsored by Indeed.com. If summer is heating up your hiring needs, then you need Indeed. Their all-in-one hiring solution makes it easy to attract, interview, and hire candidates all in one place. Sponsor your first job and get hiring today by visiting Indeed.com/credit.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today for good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
A ranger station.
I'd like to report a bear hug.
Okay.
I put out my campfire and Smokey Bear hugged me.
So you drowned the fire, you stirred it, drowned it again, and felt that it was cold?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, but he's just letting you know you did good.
Bear hug from Smokey Bear. Status update.
I'm gonna let you go now. There are many ways to start a fire, but one sure way to put it out. Learn how you can do your part at SmokeyBear.com.
Sponsored by the U.S. Forest Service, Ad Council, and your state forester.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the many places we're up online. Again, never going to be a quiz. Maybe like an extra bonus question if I ever do an in-person event. But really, all you need to know is that you can find us, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, whichever is most convenient for you. That's the important part. So, by no means do you have to memorize it, get a tattoo on the back of your hand, or any of those kind of things. I particularly recommend against that last one. But just know what works for you as you have your chance to stay informed and contribute to the discussion about the things that affect us here in the borderland. To that end as well, we do have that phone line open. That number to call there is 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. A lot of comments coming in there. Maria Coleman saying that nationwide polls highlight abortion as a key factor for white, suburban, and college-educated women, may be a factor in the midterms. And actually, I think happening, coming in right now, News Channel 9 posting over on their website, KTSM.com, not to be confused with this, similar call signs, but completely different medium here, that they have gotten a statement from Mayor Oscar Leeser about that censure from the local Democratic Party and the removal of the endorsement from the state Democrat Party, saying to, again, News Channel 9, quote, "The office of the mayor is a nonpartisan office, and I was sworn in to represent 100% of our constituents, not any particular group. While it is always nice to receive an endorsement should not obligate any individual to vote a particular way. El Paso is bound by federal law and Texas law and my vote reflected that, end quote. So, yeah, well, might not come up from the mayor anymore, but I fully expect that this issue, even at the local level, to continue being somewhat of a factor, at least focus on it here, but that's just one of the several things we're talking about here today. RJ mentioning about federal services in general, saying the post office, Amtrak, and everything the government runs becomes a non-profit dollar black hole. Yeah, Kathy Codry had mentioned that the United States Post Office rate increase on stamps and fees to send packages this coming Sunday, among other things. The water rate increases. Yeah, there's a lot to be discussed here to talk about further. So if you want to leave, of course, over there on those issues, and Marky Mandingo making a point, if you have First Light or GECU, you can pay your bill and then pay it within 2 days free of charge here, referring to the El Paso water situation. So just a few of the things we're discussing here today. But again, let's get to those phone lines. That number to call, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. We do have Bill from West Side calling in right now here. Bill, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, Andrew, thank you for taking my call.
Sure thing there. What's on your
I
mind?
just wanted to make a comment about all the people who are, blocking the freeway to go to Mexico so that they can go across the free bridge. It's actually costing them more money because they're waiting in line for 2 hours with Joe Biden's $4.50 gasoline. And, it's costing them $8, $10, $15 an hour just to cross into Mexico for free. So that's kind of like something Raul would probably do.
So
anyways,
it sounds like you're dealing with
comment.
it sounds like you're dealing with that backup, particularly as we're heading towards like the spaghetti bowl from frankly either side on I-10.
Yeah, it's horrible. I mean, it's just miserable. And it's like, there's more than one bridge in town, but I guess they charge so nobody wants to go over there. But they're actually costing themselves, they'll probably wait in line 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah, there's a reason we don't have maybe like traffic delays so much, but if we ever have a traffic helicopter, any enterprising station putting that up in town, it'd probably over the bridges for the most part at this point during the day, because yeah, I just kind of instinctually at this point, not that I'm usually out at this point during the day given the whole radio show thing, but even if I am, like if we had days off, whatever, I just know not to be anywhere near that at this point during the day because it's been that bad. And I think there's a plan, but I couldn't elaborate to you what the heck it is to try and alleviate that backup. At least I think they might be doing something more with the spaghetti bowl area, but don't hold me to that because maybe that's more wishful thinking on my part.
Well, it starts about, if you get east of Bassett Center, let's say Airway or Hawkins even, it's all the way back there.
Yeah, and every time I forget to not take it, I just cringe whenever I'm taking that Paisano exit back onto I-10 from the Bassett area because, going up that ramp, sometimes it can run straight into a wall there. So good luck to you, and that's an interesting point you make there. I do appreciate the point in the call. You stay safe driving out there.
Thank you.
All right, it's a little bit of a madhouse sometimes. It's like just ingrained in me, like one of those, ducks always know where to go north when migrating kind of thing. Don't go anywhere near that area or stay away from the right lanes at this point during the day, or really any point during the day when you're approaching the spaghetti bowl, because that's where the tie-ups can happen. Anyway, enough for your impromptu traffic report. Let's get to more of the calls on the line here. Again, that number to do so, 915-544-5876, 544 KTSM. We do have Barbara on the west side here with us right now. Barbara, thanks for joining us.
Hi, Andrew. Thank you for taking my call.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to make some comments today. I know yesterday I discussed the January 6th riots and Frankie and Raul, but I don't want to reiterate what I said yesterday, but I want to make a couple of comments as to why we'll never find out the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons is I was reading back in January, Newsweek had a report that stated, and I'm looking at it right now, it says, secret commandos with shoot-to-kill authority were at the Capitol. Now, that was from a bombshell report from Newsweek that had never been reported until then. And now Schiff has included an amendment in the NDA that would hide any information collected by the U.S. military for use in congressional investigations. And he specifically included in that amendment the word Afghanistan. I understand Afghanistan. Vaccine mandates, and January the 6th. Now, the military is not supposed to get involved in any domestic politics. So why would he be specific about January the 6th and the vaccine mandates? So to get to the truth January 6th, they are actually hiding that information from the congressional committees, thereby hiding it from the American people. And if that is the case, then Mark Milley is in a lot of trouble because he's violated a long-standing policy that the military does not get involved in military law enforcement or politics. So we'll never find out what really happened on January 6th. And I believe the reason they're doing this is because they are preparing for a Republican takeover of the House.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way that they can save themselves and the investigation and the reports and communications and documents that the January 6th committee has obtained is to put this in the amendment in the NDA. I'm hoping that Republicans will wake up, read the amendment, and question that and take that language out of there. It's just like when John Ratcliffe went in with and had to release some information on the Russia collusion. The Democrats wouldn't do it, but Ratcliffe did. And another reason why we don't learn things is just recently a Louisiana court ordered the White House to turn over all documentations from senior officials with tech companies. The people who are suing them, Louisiana, is saying that administration members colluded with social media to suppress the debate on COVID-19 and the 2020 election. They filed a lawsuit on May the 5th, so it's over 2+ months to get a judge to order the administration to turn over those documents. And that's why it takes so long and it's so frustrating for those of us who want the truth to get the truth so that people like maybe Frankie and Raul, not that I'm sure that they ever would, have an open mind as to what's happening. That's why this is just one-sided committee investigation.
Hmm.
And then I want to encourage all your listeners. Today is the first day that the Federal Register is opened up the comment for Title IX.
Okay.
We all know that Biden administration wants to redefine the word woman. He wants to say, who is a woman? He wants to erase me, is how I see it. They want to say that all trans women should be allowed to claim their girls and participate in women's sports, bathrooms, and etc. They're totally ignoring the biological sex of a woman and the fact that God created man and woman and nothing in between. You know, they're trying to tell me as a woman that I am a birthing person or a menstruating person. They have not told me what I'm supposed to be after menopause. Because after menopause, I can't give birth and I don't menstruate. And I know I'm being sarcastic.
Sure.
But, you know, this is nuts. So I would encourage everybody to go, and this is not just for females. Come on, guys, get on there. It's the federalregister.gov. You just go on there. It's very simple. I went in, I put in my comment. You get a number, you get a document number, and you also get an email with your comment back. But it's so important that we go in and fight for our girls' sports, that we fight for our kids, because they want this in every single grade. You know, start telling our little children, my granddaughter, that she may be a boy. That's just unacceptable. And it's just horrifying that the Biden administration is going that far to include trans women. And it's okay for somebody to believe there's something they're not. Nobody's telling them not to believe it. But to impose it on me and say that I have to accept it is a different story. I can believe that, you know, I rode the moon last night, and I'm not going to force it on anybody that I did. So that's how I feel about being forced to accept transgender women in girls' sports or in the bathrooms. I have not stepped foot in Target for many, many, many years because of what they did. So I think there are a lot of us out there. We need to push back on some of this nonsense that's going on. That, to me, it's insanity. So, you know, I just hope everybody gets on that website, and it's not difficult. Like I said, it's federalregister.gov.
Mm.
And the last thing I wanted to comment on was ERCOT asking the communities to conserve on energy. And I was reading in the Texas Tribune today that two of the reasons why they're asking for the cutback is because, number one, the wind turbines did not produce enough power to supplement our electric grid. And number two, poor solar production of energy. So if we look it up, I found that Texas has 4.1 months of wind and 320 plus days of sun, but that doesn't include the sunny days. So that's why we need fossil fuels and all of the above. We can't get off fossil fuels as quickly and rapidly as they want us to, or we're going to end up like the Netherlands maybe, or Ghana, or I'm sure you've heard of what's happening in Sri Lanka.
Oh, yeah.
They've all gone to the green. Yes. And I was reading today that the higher the ESG score is, which these companies are aiming for, the poorer they are, the more severe their food shortages are, the more severe their energy resources are down. So we need to be careful. We really need to be aware that ESG is not the way to go. And unfortunately, the banks are forcing the fossil fuel companies to produce less, which is hurting us. So it starts with the people that lend the money, the people with the big money. And, the energy companies need money to do their projects, commence their projects, which takes 10 years to get profit from.
I mean, yeah, the way they're focusing on it and trying to make it work is, particularly in light of like reality, I not exactly called it, but I saw shades of this whole thing going on when earlier in the year, was it this year or late last year, whenever it was, the whole discussion about what should be happening with the U.S. Postal Service's delivery fleet, that aging one with those ultra long life vehicles, if that's the correct name for them, I'm pretty sure it is, aging out, and they're going to be replaced, rebuilt, or just a one-to-one replacement, or replaced with electric. And of course, that fight going through here, I was like, is this really the thing to focus on right now? And yeah, the shades of that have definitely bloomed into a whole bouquet of political fights over things that are affecting everyday people while we're waiting for those in power to decide what they're doing. Yeah. Anyway, I mean, the real issue with that is we got to look at what the realistic needs are, because sure, I'm not even saying that there isn't enough power generated that could be captured by renewables in order to power a good chunk, if not all, of what we need. But the storage issue, as much as Tesla Powerwalls and whatever Elon Musk or subsidiary corporations come up with may be somewhat fantastical sounding, it's not there yet. It's not available enough. And even though one thing I was looking at, Turkey supposedly had put out enough of these rare earth metals to supply the demand for the next 1,000 years. You may have seen that be coming through. There's more than a little bit reason to be dubious there as well. So until we see some concrete things, and frankly, the prices come down to the storage methods, I think we're going to have some issues there. And, the Federal Register, frankly, is an underappreciated recourse. You only often see it from specific advocacy groups being mentioned about there's a rule that will affect the work that we do, so please go and affect it. I wouldn't exactly call it a hobby, but something people could do and look at frequently, because that's whenever we're looking at agency rules, that's where they have to go as a part of the process. No, not something you usually learn in civics class, unfortunately. So I appreciate the point in the call. I'll tell you what, we got to take that next break right now. So coming out of this break, we'll get to more of the calls, more of the comments, more of everything we do here on this program here, including some of these technological suggestions being made here. Anyway, that number to call again if you want to squeeze on the line, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned. If you want to make sure that's, whatever you are dealing with in your day, whether it be some of the heavy issues here, or just wanting to look good, feel good, make a good presentation of yourself, I'll recommend for most of those issues here would be the official hair and beard sponsor of the show, Gentleman's Republic Barber Salon and Men's Spa, because the services they offer can truly help make you or the special man in your life feel like a king for a day, because they've got those expert hair and beard cutting skills, the traditional arts of barbering, you might call them, along with all of the, newer skills and abilities. My man, Michael Robert Tipton, over there on our sister station, Fox Sports 1380, recently got his pedicure there, and he is not a guy that usually goes for that kind of thing because, there's a little bit of stigma that goes with it, but the services they offered it, he was very pleased with, and you might be as well, particularly if you give them a call to set your next appointment. The number to do so, 915-532-3000. That's 915-532-3000. And find them online at gentsrepublic.com. That's GENTSrepublic.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
The I-10 westbound still has stop-and-go traffic this afternoon. It's not getting too much better. Westbound between Trans Mountain and Vinton with 10-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at the downtown exits, Wyoming and Prospect. A stalled vehicle is blocking the exit ramp. Border Highway eastbound at Padres. A couple of the stalled vehicles blocking the right shoulder still. And on the I-10 westbound at Airway, a large truck is blocking the right shoulder. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Red Pilled America.
Red Pilled America is the storytelling show everyone is talking about. This week, we reveal the agenda behind the phrase cultural appropriation and how it's being used to keep you in check. Listen to Red Pilled America every week on the free iHeartRadio app. That's Red Pilled America.
You should be able to earn money with your money and with more control. Solo Funds makes it simple. With the Solo Funds app, you lend money to other members to help them replace a tire or cover an emergency expense, and they pay you back with a tip. It's a win-win. Plus, you control which loans you fund and when you fund them, so you can make a difference and a return. Join us. Download the Solo Funds app on the App Store or Google Play Store.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic, but if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. That's your regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is the leading cancer killer, but can be prevented with regular screenings starting at age 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today and visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code RACE for a $5 bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code RACE for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code RACE.
Always just minutes away from the latest news around town and around the world.
You need to know what's going on.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Whatever's most convenient for you is really what it comes down to. A lot of comments coming in there. Calvin Williams to the whole electric storage or power storage issue, suggesting centrifugal batteries and asking, do you think the government is giving away grants to research perpetual motion machines? I mean, there's a little bit of tongue-in-cheek I'm detecting there, but to maybe flip that a little bit, what do you think might be going on over at CERN? I know that's a whole rabbit hole to go down there. And if you really want to talk about the split in our reality going back to 2016, R.I.P. Harambe, but completely separate issues there. So short answer, no, but you also never know here. And Kathy Coder letting us know she would call in, but the filter isn't working properly. Yeah, I do appreciate that. And a lot more comments here coming in. If you want to chime in over on the social media, more than welcome to here. And yeah, it's a lot of issues to get to there, but also that phone line still open. That number to call, 544-5876-544-KTSM. Right now, we do have Frankie and Messia on the line with us right now. Frankie, thanks for joining us.
What is this mush? I just heard Barbara going on and on and on again. I'm already up to 3 no-dos every time she comes on. Well, I just heard her say she can't find the truth. The only reason, Barbara, you can't find the truth is because it's within your own mind. Your truth, not anybody else's except yours. Yours and yours alone. Why don't you get your head out of the sand and listen to somebody else that also has truth, real truth, not your phony baloney truth. Okay, Barbara? You got that? Okay, that's my number 1 point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I also asked earlier on a pound 250 call, how are you Texans doing on your property taxes? And more specifically in El Paso, with your water stuff. How you doing with that stuff, huh? I want to know.
Well, the property taxes are, well, we'll see what comes out of the sum total of the taxing organizations, but let's just say a trend line upwards is not unexpected at this point.
Well, I really don't really get it. I mean, I do, but I really can't quite get the handle of so many of you Texans, maybe not so many El Pasoans, but the general flavor of all Texans, where you actually put into your Constitution that there would be no state income tax. You're cutting your legs out from under yourself. This is a modern society, civilized society. You got to pay the bills to make things work. And you're cutting yourself off at the knees because you got some idea that this is the most outrageous thing. We Texans were never going to do this, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? That's why you're paying all these bills. What's the matter with you people, including you, Barbara? What do you think of them apples?
Well, even if there were to be a point there about how we might pay less or some kind of formula here, let me just say that if there were to be any party in Texas, and particularly Republicans, but even Democrats, I would be very surprised if there were to be some magical, mystical flip of the party in the state, of which that also the convention going on right now is kind of a referendum on how Democrats are doing in the state and choosing their leadership, separate issue we brought up earlier. But if any party were to come up and say, you know what, we're bringing property taxes to Texas, the locks have been and the knots have been tied pretty tight already, like you mentioned with the constitutional amendments, but I can't imagine a quicker way of just declaring political suicide at this point than saying we're going to bring income tax to Texas, because whether you like it or not, more taxes rarely ends up being a popular thing. It often adds to be on the back end of, we're bringing you new programs, and by the way, we're going to have to increase your taxes. It's often how it works. But seriously, I don't. Even if we do see a change in the governor's mansion here, not saying it's going to happen, but just playing this out for a second, I would be incredibly surprised if, O'Rourke essentially even proposed such a adding of an income tax in Texas, because the political furor and fallout that would come after that would be, even with the very serious issues we're talking about, probably unprecedented within the state.
Okay, Andrew, you're 100% spot on, but I'm just saying, everybody out there, the callers that I hear, you hear, everybody, complaining about this, my property taxes went up, my water bill went up, my electric went up. Well, guess what, people? You can't have it both ways. You either pay or you just keep complaining about the thing. For crying out loud, I just don't get this.
Well, fair enough. Well, hope you're doing well up there in the land of enchantment on those side of things.
You better believe it. The land of enchantment, baby, ain't nothing like it, you know?
All right. Well, thanks for the point in the call. You have a good one.
All right. You take care.
All right. I think we got to take that next break right now. Coming out of this break, we'll get to more of the calls and such on the line here. Again, if you wanted to add your 2 cents, that number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 News Update. A judge has dropped all of the charges against 29-year-old Christopher Smelzer, a former Las Cruces police officer accused of causing the death of a suspect he was trying to arrest. Smelzer was originally charged with manslaughter in the 2020 death of Antonio Valenzuela, but Attorney General Hector Balderas later took over the case and upgraded the charge to second-degree murder. Judge Doug Driggers today ruled that there was insufficient evidence to move forward with the murder charge. Smelzer, with tears in his eyes, hugged his attorneys in the courtroom today. Many El Paso water customers are hanging up before they're able to speak to a customer service representative. Data from El Paso Water shows that the abandoned calls in May and June are due to long wait times. The utility explained the staff shortages are affecting the amount of call representatives that are actually able to answer. The call logs for the month of May and part of June show the utility received more than 1,000 calls a day. However, many of those calls went unanswered, with several customers hanging up after waiting for an average of nearly 30 minutes. This has been your KFOX 14 News Update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
The I-10 westbound still has stop-and-go traffic this afternoon. It's not getting too much better. Westbound between Trans Mountain and Vinton with 10-minute delays. I-10 eastbound at the downtown exits, Wyoming and Prospect. The stalled vehicle is blocking the exit ramp. Border Highway eastbound at Padres. A couple of the stalled vehicles blocking the right shoulder still. And on the I-10 westbound at Airway, a large truck is blocking the right shoulder. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, this is Chief Meteorologist Sandra Diaz. Finding ways to stay cool is going to be a big task for us, not only through the rest of the work week, but in through our weekend, as triple digits continue to beat down on the borderland. That means warm nights as well, and we're looking at a few days of dry weather, but there will be the return of a slight drop in temperatures as rain returns next week. Log on to kfoxtv.com for the very latest.
This report is sponsored by ExpressPros.com. Take the stress out of your job search. Visit ExpressPros.com for jobs from a variety of industries. With more than 850 locally owned offices, the Express team is ready to help you find your next job. Go to ExpressPros.com.
Have you thought about dental implants? Has someone told you that dental implants cost $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 per tooth? Please do not pay that much money. Instead, go to 1995implants.com, the El Paso dental office where beautiful, top-quality, long-lasting dental implants are as low as $1,995 per tooth, including the implant, abutment, and crown. Plus, we offer a free consultation with the dentist, free standard x-rays, and convenient financing plans to fit your budget. At 1995implants.com, dental implants are very affordable. So get rid of your cracked teeth, missing teeth, and loose, old, wobbly dentures, and get the amazing new smile that you've been wanting. 1995implants.com is conveniently located right here in El Paso. For more information, please see our website, 1995implants.com. That's 1995implants.com. Se habla español.
Don't drive much, don't pay much with pay-per-mile insurance from Allstate. Life is good when you're in the driver's seat. At Allstate, better protection costs a whole lot less. Visit allstate.com or call an agent for a quote today. This report is sponsored by Allstate.
180 over 111, and I had a stroke. I couldn't speak or walk.
This is high blood pressure. Get back on your plan. Go to loweryourhbp.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association, American Medical Association, and the Ad Council.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. A lot of stuff we're getting to here today. And during the duration of our show here, realized update actually came in on what's going on with El Paso Water and that break going on the west side, expected to continue at least through late tonight. So that's a bit of fun for those affected out there. Hope y'all staying safe and don't have those swamp coolers, because I am sure they're not working right now. In any case, talking about a lot of issues here and the issues that the effect they have them from those issues in our area here, along with those phone lines being open, of course, full up at the moment, but that number to call is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM if you want to squeeze on the line there. And more comments coming here as well. Barbara Carrasco displeased with Frankie's response there. But Calvin Williams on the idea of public funding for programs, saying if a program is worth more taxes, it should be something someone would invest in and eventually take over. Their funds would be available for the new project. Interesting idea. I think talking at least a little bit about UMC, which we've been getting to in a little bit there. But a lot more comments coming in on all those things. And if you really want to, Marky Mendinger bringing up another point that is kind of always simmering in the back of my mind anyway. Just wait for the estimate for the sports arena downtown. I'm thinking 400 million or more. Some watchers of that situation, you might have one in mind, as pushing it closer to about $500 million. So we'll see what actually comes out. Of course, referring to that study that has been focused on, or at least funded, at least a little bit, that I think roughly $700,000 being spent for the consultancy. They've had that meeting so far and very closely looking at what will be coming out of it even further. But let's dive back into those phone lines right now. Again, that number to call, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. We do have Maria on the east side here with us right now. Maria, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. Just a comment when they said that when this gentleman says that we should pay one or the other. I mean, if you go to California, if you see some states, you can realize the real estate taxes are very high and they have a very high state income tax. It will not end. It's not, it's not we can pay one or the other. Even to renew your registration on your car, it's up to $500 in California. I mean, I don't understand why. I don't like paying high property taxes, which I do, which we all do. But at the same time, they cannot make it seem that it's one thing or the other. I mean, there are states that are very high both taxes.
Oh, that's very true. Yeah, absolutely. And, even for people I know that are like, okay, I'm kind of like, I don't like paying taxes, but I like the idea of what it can be done with it. I like the biggest problem ends up coming down, and I tend to agree with them on this point, is that I don't like what they're doing with the money that's being taxed. Like if it was being used efficiently, effectively, etc., they'd have less gripes, but when's the last time that a government program has been particularly accused of being too efficient?
I agree. I'm on a fixed income. I mean, so it's not that I'm crazy when, I'm happy when I get those increases. I mean, I'm not happy about it. I'm just saying that it's not one thing or the other because I've seen states that have both of them, and both of them are very high expenses that they have on a yearly basis. I would never go back to California. Never.
Yeah, I don't live out there for, a lot of reasons. The list seems to increase by the day here, much more or less. I don't think I could rob a bank and be above the poverty line out there. Jeez, it's nuts.
I agree. All my family's there. I mean, apparently this gentleman has no clue that it's not one or the other. That was my only comment. And something else, let's keep the discussions. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do with your show, but I don't think we have to be rude. And so no class. I mean, we can give our opinions without being offensive.
Yep, fair enough here.
I mean, let's be respectful. Thank you, Andrew. Have a great evening.
You too as well. Thank you for the point in the call. Have a great one out there as well. I mean, I'm name calling it that demon's out of Pandora's box and has been for a long time. But I will say personally, I do appreciate the points that get more into like substantive issues, because sure, it may sound cathartic to call someone a whatever, but actually like moving the ball on the play and on the point here is a little bit more better idea in mind, what I strive for anyway. But I'm never going to try to hold someone to exactly what I do here. We got very different purposes, but let's get to more of the calls on the line. We do have Raul in the Northeast on the line with us here right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. Barbara called Frankie and me out saying that we'll never know the truth. Seems to me that Barbara is projecting. Trump has just announced on his failing social media platform that his first wife, Ivanka, has died as a result of a fall. Now, he cheated on her with a woman that became his second wife. And then he cheated on his second wife with a woman that became his third wife. And then he was cheating on his third wife, who was pregnant at the time, and hiring a prostitute. And yet Barbara expects the truth from this man, and that we don't understand the truth. Well, the truth is that he is a highly immoral and unethical man that can't tell the truth to his own wives. Of course he would lie to the rest of the country if he lied to his wife. That's what Sean Hannity made that argument when he was criticizing Clinton about his Monica Lewinsky affair, which the Republicans thought was worthy of impeachment, but not an insurrection and a coup. They are the biggest hypocrites in the world. The truth is coming out through these hearings.
Again, as much as I love a good review of your evaluation of the morals of a former president, I think she was referring a little bit more directly to what Adam Schiff, Congressman Adam Schiff, has suggested and put forth as an amendment for that National Defense Authorization Act, as essentially removing levels of congressional oversight for domestic activities of some very serious federal, I mean, we're talking about the National Guard and troops here, so talking about that in terms of truth here, I mean, there's a level of concern I'm going to even share on that. The idea of removing congressional oversight, not usually something pushed for. I mean, is that something you're finding yourself in favor of?
No. Hey, Andrew, you come across as a Trump apologist. Did you vote for him?
You think I'm a Trump apologist just because we're talking about this being something that happens a lot of the time here? No. Okay, no, let's get down to brass tacks here if you really wanted to get to it here. When we come across and we keep having points add day after day, the same ones here, it's not good radio, even if I don't like the points you're making there. So you're trying to put me in a corner here, and here's the thing about this. We don't have to do that. And so I have voted who I voted for, and you have clearly voted for who you have voted for. And the matter of record of that, I am an active voter in El Paso County, and I do vote in just about any election that they will let me do it. I mean, if I not allowed to, I'm not going to do it. But of course, that's the right of a person to do so. So if you're trying to get me on the record about something, good luck. You can go subpoena my voting records and those kind of things. But seriously, when we're talking about the same thing day after day, it gets a little bit boring, my dude. The thing I hope for more hope against hope to do is have interesting and unique points brought up every day. And it has happened on occasion, even from some of the more unlikely sources. So if we're not going to do that here on this day, we're going to go ahead and move on there. So have a great one. Appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth. Anyway, I think we can squeeze in one more here before we hit that next break. Here we do have Marco over in Central with us right now. Marco, thanks for joining us.
How's it going?
Doing right there. How are you today?
Man, I'm going to be very honest here. I think that Raul and Frankie are bots. I think they're AI bots. There's no other way, because you said it best. Raul talks about the same thing every day, and then he's like, "You're a Trump apologist." You're just like, "No, dude, I just don't want posse comitatus in my house. I don't want soldiers in my home. I don't want the federal government imposing its will over me." And Raul, so you ask him that, and he right away he's just like, 9/11, like some stupid parody of a Family Guy cartoon. But besides that, I want to hit something serious.
Sure.
One day, if you ever get a chance for your audience, you should play the Paul Harvey "If I Was the Devil" speech. Have you ever heard that one?
I think I've heard it a long time ago, but I'm pulling it up right now, and I do recall. I mean, it's been a while since I've listened to some good Paul Harvey.
It would be a candy for your listeners. But here's the thing. For Raul and Frankie. By the way, ask Frankie how taxes work. I guarantee you Frankie's probably retired, getting his Social Security. So, of course, he's like, pay tax because I want more money, But I guarantee you he's never run a business. If he did, he's going to tell you he's run a hot dog stand or something at one point or another, ran a laminate shop when he was a little kid. So, therefore, he knows about business. Like, Frankie, I don't know if you understand this, but why would I want to give the federal government more money when I'm already giving them a lot of money? Have you ever gone to a low-income house? Every place there has a car. If you look inside those homes, they have big screen TVs. All those people have cell phones. If you go down to Mata's Produce in the downtown area, there's people giving away free government phones, Frankie. Hello, Frankie. Frankie, do you even know anything about taxes? I'm sure he would probably say Keynes is correct. And he probably looks at Milton Friedman like, oh, this guy's crazy. But here's my point.
Mm-hmm.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
How can I, as a Republican, as a conservative, as just a human being, take anything, the liberal, the world liberal order, the Democrat liberal order, the Democrats in the United States, how can I take them serious? Look at this hearing they just had on abortion. They asked a woman, they asked this lady who's an attorney, what is a woman? And she's contorting, well, it's anybody who's a birthing person, anybody who's and you're like, nah, dude. If you can't even agree on basic biology, why should I listen to you on global warming? Why should I listen to you on the economy? No, quite frankly, you're stupid. This is the problem with stupid commie people like Frankie and Raul, because they live in an absurd 1984 reality. This is exactly why I said the only way to combat 1984 is with 1776. And people that believe in the reality, Barbara, I hate to tell you, you know, I know, and even Maria, you guys come out and you want to be nice and cordial and polite. Those days are gone because the commie will spit in your face. He will elbow you in the jaw. He will punch you in the face and tell you you're assaulting him. Those days are done. The time for being nice to Democrats and trying to pat them in the back and be like, well, you know, it used to be like the girl. No, you people are destroying our country. You're Luciferians in many ways, because look at the way you bend over backwards for abortion. Like it's a sacrament, like it's the ultimate thing in the world. You people disgust me. You people, you know what? Honestly, a plague on the damn Democrats' house. A plague on the damn Democrats' house. They deserve no less, and they can go to hell. Their policies, they're awful.
Well, you're certainly entitled to your opinion on here, but here's what I would caution. Essentially, when we're talking about that, really almost using the, as been put by others, the terms of conflict in this, because at the end of the day, we are still talking about fellow countrymen here and women and whatever, and saying that there is no work to done with this. There are people out there who are very interested in seeing that line of reasoning put forth here. Now, I will make a very fine distinction between bending over backwards, as you're describing it here, and understanding that there are going to be people that disagree with you and have their own very serious reasons for wanting to do so. Because saying that there's only my way or the highway, that is a line, and particularly of politics, that has been, well, walked down many times before by humanity over the millennia, and rarely, if ever, I don't think ever, I would fully argue, has worked out well. Because the idea that, oh, only my ideas are the good ones, and so therefore you have to go with it, just as a general rule, does not work out well. Now, I'm not saying to give up your convictions. That is by no means the takeaway that should be taken from that whole idea. But to say that there is no broach, there can be no peaceful solution, is honestly what it sounds like you're getting a little bit closer to say there. And that is something that I am never, and I do mean never, going to find myself in favor of, because the idea that there is nothing else to be done except by making sure that our will is enforced through force is not, well, again, I'm not even accusing you of necessarily saying that, but I think that there has been more and more of that kind of rhetoric being amped up, and it's popular. It's popular with a certain group of people on either side of it, because the idea of just, yeah, let's just cut through it is not the American system and not how it works, and why I will always find myself opposed to it. So I wish you well, and I'd be happy to talk with you more about these things further here, but we got to take that next break right now. So thank you for the point in the call. We'll be back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Tell you what we got coming up for you on the show and close it out. So thank you for staying tuned. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
A couple of crashes to know about on your El Paso freeways right now. I-10 eastbound at Patriot Freeway. Injury accident reported with El Paso police on the scene. 10 eastbound at Piedras. A crash there is blocking the right lanes. On Spur 601 eastbound between Constitution Avenue over to the Loop, it's a 5-minute delay, stop and go traffic. And the right lane is closed on Trans Mountain, Loop 375 eastbound, just past Kenworthy. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by the Ben Ferguson Podcast.
Is it time to call for the impeachment of Joe Biden? Coming up on the Ben Ferguson Podcast all week, we're going to take a look at the millions of barrels of oil sold to Chinese companies directly tied to Hunter Biden. For all the details, download the Ben Ferguson Podcast now.
New on Curiosity Stream. Grab your decoder ring. We're cracking the world's most famous encryptions. From the mom who took down the mob to the Zodiac Killer. See how the pros hide their secrets in plain sight on Cracking the Code. Plus,
it was impossible to recruit intelligence agents without recruiting war criminals.
Meet the retirees of the Third Reich who gathered Cold War intelligence for the U.S. on Nazis and the CIA. Watch now on Curiosity Stream. Annual plans are $20, just $1.67 a month. Visit curiositystream.com.
Maybe you've had to put off a health appointment or two during the COVID-19 pandemic. But if you're 45 or older, there's one test you shouldn't put off any longer. Regular screening for colorectal cancer. Colorectal cancer is a leading cancer killer, but it can be prevented with regular screening starting at 45. There are more screening options than ever before, including at-home tests. It takes guts to put your health first. Ask your doctor about your options today. Visit cdc.gov/screen4life for more information.
Not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin. Hey, good morning. You're heading to the airport, right?
Yep, thanks for checking. I like the car. How long have you been a rideshare driver?
About 3 years now. I really enjoy it.
Isn't it hard to make money these days with the price of gas being so high?
Not for me. I use Upside, the free app that gives you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get real money back when you get gas with the Upside app?
Yep, I get real cash back every time I get gas.
Does that actually add up to anything?
I'll make around $200 to $300.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code RACE for a $5 bonus on your first tank. You can cash out anytime, right to your bank account, PayPal, or gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code RACE for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code RACE.
M1EP.com. Superior multifamily property management services citywide.
News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for having joined us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thanks for tuning in. However you may have been doing so, we've covered a lot of ground here today, and I just want to encourage one thing. If there's anything that there should be taken away from this program, yes, we deal with a lot of different viewpoints, diverse opinions here, and that is something we are committed to, because saying that's, even if they might personally upset me, we're not going to talk about that. Anytime someone tells me that anyway, just makes me want to talk about it more, and we'll continue doing that every Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. as we do here on the show here. So coming up for you, Coach, we got Friday coming up, Free for All Friday, when we'll really get into it. So if you weren't able to get through today, be sure to tune in for that tomorrow here, and a lot more comments. I mean, if you want to go back and see any of the ones that have come up during the show, you can do so over on our social media. And just a couple things we're working on for you next week. I know that there was, at least someone had mentioned, the last World War II veteran to be granted the Medal of Honor was lying in honor at the Capitol. Actually happened today. So we'll probably have 4 more of that for you over the weekend, if not during some of our programming next week. So stay tuned for all that. Squeezing what we can here at the end of the show. We do have Kevin on the east side right now. Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Andrew. One short thing I would like to say is that people who ask you rather discourteously, I believe, who did you vote for? That's your opinion. And you are entitled to your opinion, and you don't have to broadcast it because the vote is secret. And not only that, but you have a show which is fair and impartial to everyone. And some people don't get that. But, to turn it into this is a Republican thing or a Democrat thing, you are doing the right thing. And I appreciate that. And people that are rude to you like that, I just can't handle that. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for the comment. I do appreciate it. I mean, there is a fine line we walk a lot of the times here, but what I always, at least in the back of my mind for everything we try to do here, is in service of what can we do to talk more about things? Because I don't think less discussion is who's working out for us in any real broad definition. I think we got at least one more comment on the line here. We do have Andrew on the west side. Andrew, thanks for joining us.
Yes, once again, one has to commend Mayor Leeser for obeying the law and sticking with the law.
Fair enough there. So thank you for the point in the call. We'll have to leave it there for us today because we are super out of time for this show here. I want to thank everyone who did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. You know we'll do it again tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. right here on News Radio 690 KTSM, particularly since it's Friday when we will be devoting both hours entirely to your comments and calls. So we're able to get through. Keep that in mind tomorrow, 4 to 6 p.m. In the meantime, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. See you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound at the 54 Patriot, a crash with injuries reported there. On the Trans Mountain Loop 375 eastbound, just after Kenworthy, the right lane is closed, so El Paso electric workers can work on the lines. I-10 eastbound at Piedras, that crash is cleared. All lanes are back open. Spur 601 eastbound between Constitution over to the Loop. It's a 10-minute delay. Alameda Avenue at Lafayette, injury accident. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
Almost 3 million people use Navage to breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. I'm Martin Hoke, and I invented Navage, the world's only nose cleaner that helps flush out airborne germs with powered suction. But what do doctors have to say about Navage? Here's Dr. Tonya Farmer, a board-certified ear, nose, and throat specialist.
Most airborne allergens and viruses enter through your nose. When that happens, it can cause congestion and irritation, and that just makes you feel miserable. You can get a cold, you can get flu, sinus infections, or even worse. Flushing your nose with a saline solution is the most effective way to flush all of those dangerous threats out of your nose. So now when patients come in my office, I tell them I highly recommend that you use Navage on a daily basis for overall good health and wellness.
And Navage is all natural and drug-free at Navage.com, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Bed Bath, and Target. Navage, N-A-V-A-G-E. Clean nose, healthy life.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Freedom of speech lives here.
To me, freedom of speech is being able to say anything you want.
El Paso's News Radio. 690 KTSM. News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.